13. Should thinking about the world, why do I always fail to see reality clearly? Welcome to Self-Development Psychology. Let me tell you a story. In the Homer's epic, the hero Odysseus encountered a monster on his way home. This monster had a bed, and every passerby would be caught and made to lie on the bed. If the passerby's body was shorter than the bed, the monster would pull them to the same length as the bed. If it was longer, the monster would saw off the excess. When I read this story before, I always thought that the monster wanted to kill people. But now I think that maybe it just wanted to find someone to marry. It's just that the ideal partner it imagined in its mind should be the same length as the bed. Of course, we are not as foolish as that monster, but do you know? We often have similar ideas in our minds. For example, when we were young, we thought that our parents should understand us and love us more. When we were studying, we thought we should go to better schools and get better grades. When we started working, we thought we should work for better companies and make more money. When we became parents, we thought our children should listen to us more. If reality does not operate according to these assumptions in our minds, we may even want to make a bed like that monster and transform the reality that does not conform to our ideas. This is the second type of defensive thinking we want to talk about today, should thinking. The essence of should thinking is not to understand the real world, but to try to make the real world obey the rules we already have in our minds. When the world does not conform to the rules in our minds, we show resentment, anger, anxiety, or frustration. We can divide should thinking into two types. One is should thinking about the world and others. The other is should thinking about ourselves. In today's class, we will first talk about should thinking about the world and others. The shadow of should thinking behind negative emotions. Have you noticed that almost all negative emotions have the shadow of should thinking behind them? I met a mother some time ago who always complained that her son was lazy and disobedient, and asked me if there was any way to make her son listen to her. In fact, her child did not have any major problems, just that he would sleep in and be a bit lazy when doing homework. I asked her, "What kind of son do you want?" She said, "I think my son should be smart, obedient, well-behaved, and cute." So when I find out that he is not like this in reality, I get angry and want to correct him. But the more I do this, the more my son doesn't listen to me, and the more our relationship becomes strained, which makes me very distressed. Behind this mother's distress is that should thinking about how her child should be. The more she cannot let go of this should, the more she cannot handle reality well. Another visitor of mine recently came to me for counseling because of workplace anxiety. He just changed jobs. As a newcomer, the people in the company were all friendly to him. Only one colleague ignored him. He went to ask that colleague for advice, but that colleague often showed a kind of arrogance of "you don't understand this." But that colleague did his job well, and everyone else liked him. My visitor was very angry with that colleague and determined to surpass him in business. Every time that colleague did something better than him, he would be very anxious and frustrated, even to the point of being nervous when he saw that colleague. Behind this story, there are also many should thinking. The first should is that he thinks all colleagues should be nice to him, or abstractly speaking, he thinks everyone should like him. So when that colleague shows arrogance, he gets very angry. The second should is that he thinks since the colleague does not respect me, I should surpass him. Only by surpassing him can I achieve inner peace. Like many inspirational stories, the good person surpasses the bad person through their unremitting efforts and gains everyone's unanimous recognition. When reality does not conform to this story template, he becomes very anxious. And these two shoulds reinforce each other. He should like me, but he doesn't, so I'm hurt. Because I'm hurt, I have to surpass him. He puts all his self-worth into comparison with this colleague. Once he finds that he is inferior to this colleague, he will feel useless and become anxious and frustrated. Later, when I discussed these things with him, he also realized the thinking behind his emotions. But he said, "Teacher, I understand the should thinking you talked about, but can't I think about surpassing him?"